Here recently, I was in Dollar Tree and I saw something really interesting on their shelf, so I picked up a few, so let's check them out. These are some little woodworking kits. They're especially for beginners, but I figured let's look at them and give them a try. This one's by Wood Shop and it is a bird feeder. This one is by Curiosity and it is a helicopter. It's supposed to include all the glue and any extras like string or whatever we need to put them together. So I like to build these. Let's see what they look like. They also had 4 other kits, including a birdhouse, a fighter plane, a sailboat, and a race car. And from what I can tell, you shouldn't need any extra tools to put these together, except maybe some scissors to cut it open. Now I'm gonna start with this helicopter, because it seems like it's a cool little project to put together, plus it can make a great little gift for somebody, so let's give it a try. This kit includes a little thing of wood glue, some big body pieces, a rubber band, and a little screw hook. Wait a minute, I just realized with the rubber band, it should go over to Propeller and make this like an interactive project. Now that would be pretty cool. This kit also has some instructions on the back of the plastic bag, including some pictures right over here, which hopefully will make this much easier to assemble. Now for my first step, I'm supposed to glue a little piece onto this propeller. And I know this thing will never fly, but I would like to get it as close to centered as possible. So I probably would suggest maybe getting a ruler or even a measure tape to make these projects a little bit easier. I'm also intrigued on the type of glue they put in this project. And I really can't smell anything, and it has the consistency of about like Elmer's glue, so it's probably what it is. Here's a little heads up if you're doing any of these projects that require glue. For example, I just glued this piece on and now it's asking me to screw the little hook into it. But I can't do that until after that has a few minutes to dry. Otherwise it'll fall right back off, so just keep that in mind. While waiting for the propeller to dry, I've glued together several of the other pieces according to the instructions, and they've went together nicely. I was also a little concerned at the beginning of this project exactly how much glue was in this container, but I was real conservative when applying everything, and I still have a bunch left over, so if you accidentally waste a little bit, it should be okay. Now the project is nearly complete with the exception of the rubber band. I'm currently using it as a temporary clamp to glue this top piece in place, and I'll move that into position once that dries. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to assemble the other 5 projects, and then we can compare and contrast each one and tell you which one I recommend and which ones I don't. And here's a look at all 6, starting with the birdhouse, the bird feeder, the fighter plane, the race car, the sailboat, and of course the helicopter. The first thing I noticed when putting these together is that some of them take a heck of a lot longer to glue together than others. For example, this sailboat is kind of a challenge to glue together because they want you to attach this fabric to the string so that it is actually a sail, which takes a long time and you need some clamps to do it. And for example, on this race car, these side pieces glue in place but are barely touching anything, and so unless you're willing to sit here and hold the pieces in place for 20 or 30 minutes while you're letting that glue dry, I'd highly recommend getting some extra rubber bands to do that job for you. After gluing all these together, here's a little tip for you about the glue. Of course, these little holders hold a bunch. In fact, I used one of these for most of these projects, but again, it takes a long time for everything to dry. So you might want to consider getting some CA glue or super glue. This will definitely work a lot faster than the glue they provided. But if you don't have any, this will definitely work. Now let's take a little bit closer look at the birdhouse and a bird feeder. The birdhouse is a simple little project. You are trying to assemble basically a box. And once you assemble the sides and the front and back in place, it is a little bit tight to reach inside to get to everything to glue it together. So in this project, I actually use super glue, and if you have it, I would recommend it. It is a lot easier and a lot faster. But overall, it's a simple little project that has a nice little hook on the top that you can hang it from. The bird feeder is also a cute little project. On the bottom down here, you're just creating a square box. On the top, you're just creating a little roof on a pedestal that attaches to the inside of your box as well. Now, I did use some super glue on the base down here and for the top here as well, because the white glue provided will work, but it just takes a long time to dry and I did not want to wait. But you can, if you have the time, use just that. Now in both of these cases, I would not recommend sticking these outside. These are not heavy duty materials and I'm pretty sure they would deteriorate very quickly. Moving on, we have the fighter plane. This is a cool little project, but it does have a lot of pieces, including the wings, the tail, the engines, the missiles, the wheels underneath, the side pieces. So there is a good bit going into it to hold it in place. Now, I primarily used white glue for this, except for like on the missiles. Looking underneath here, these will be a little bit harder to hold in place to glue, but if you do have some binder clips, if you're going to use a white glue, you can always use the binder clips to hold them in place while they dry. But some super glue or CA glue can make that be a lot easier and a lot faster. But overall, cool little project. Next up is this cool little race car. This is a cool little project, and I got excited as I started putting it together, especially as the car was transforming into shape. It just looked really neat. Now, there are a bunch of pieces, so don't be surprised that you're gonna have to turn this at a bunch of different angles to glue things together, and it's gonna take some time to dry. You'll also probably need some rubber bands to kind of support things as you go, and try to make sure that the wheels stay as straight as possible on your axles so that they turn nicely. One of the best features about this project is the ability to actually play with it after you get done building it. So that's a great way you can interact with your family after you build the project. And next up is the sailboat. Now, the main section of this boat, and along with the cabin and the mast and the booms, were pretty easy to assemble. Now, when it comes to the sails though, these were a big challenge, because to get these look halfway decent, you had to take a bunch of time and clamp these together just to make sure that the glue would stick and dry correctly. So just be prepared that if you're gonna buy this project, these sails can definitely be a little bit of a challenge. And if you don't have any of these clamps, that's okay. Just get some binder clips, they'll do the same thing. Looking back at the helicopter, I realized I never even attached a rubber band. So let me put that on and we'll see how well it spins. 3, 2, 1, take off. That does pretty well. I like that. It's pretty cool. The rubber band runs through the body and up around the tail, so it's always going to be visible. So if you don't like it, just take it off. And now for the moment of truth. Which of these projects are the best and which are the worst? Well, overall, I do have to say, if you want to build something, maybe just for decor or something to interact with, each of these projects do have their benefits, but some of them are definitely easier than others. The most difficult project would be the sailboat. Especially if you want the sails to look halfway decent, you need to take a lot of time, measure this out, and make sure it is glued properly and clamped as well. So this one was definitely the most challenging, but it is pretty cool and when you get it done. With the sailboat definitely being the hardest, I would say that the birdhouse and the bird feeder would be the next most challenging, and that you can put these together with the white glue that comes in the package, but I would highly suggest getting some super glue to put them together, just because these panels like to fall apart really easy as you're assembling them. But overall, once you get done, they do look really nice. The next easiest project, I believe, would be a tie between a race car and the fighter plane. Both of these have a lot of pieces, but you can glue them all together with the white glue. Just remember to take some time to make sure everything dries. The easiest project out of all of these, and one I would probably recommend for you to do first, would be the helicopter. It is a real simple project to put together, and I'm glad I did it first because it just made me feel confident when I started working on all the rest of them. It's also really fun to interact with once it is complete. And just a reminder, I found all of these at Dollar Tree. I'm not sponsored by them. I just thought they'd be cool little projects for you, or you could give away as gifts, especially this time of year. Now, if by chance you find anything other than these 6, please list those in the comments. I'd love to know about them so I can build them and possibly share them with you. Otherwise, check out this next video.